Okay, so this week we're making meatballs and sauce, like Italian gravy, Sunday sauce, however you want to put it. So we're going to start with the meatballs. You can do these a couple different ways. The way we're going to do them today is we're going to make the meatballs, put them onto a sheet tray, and roast them off. Use some of the drippings from that to start our sauce. So to get started, we're going to start with our meatball recipe. All right, so we have half a pound of ground pork. So this recipe calls for pork and beef. Some people use veal, but not in my recipe. So we have 1 pound of beef and 1/2 pound of pork. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start by just getting those two mixed together. So they're nice, the pork gets marbled through there, and then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. The first part of your recipe, you're going to have panko breadcrumbs. If you just had any type of like stale white bread, anything you want to use for breadcrumbs is fine. But I have panko. And what I did is I took that water that's in the recipe and I went ahead and added it to the panko to make it nice and spongy. So that panko sucks up all that liquid, and then once it cooks, it kind of releases that moisture and keeps the meatballs nice and moist. So we have our mixture put together. We're going to take our panko breadcrumb mixture with the water already. So it's kind of like wet bread. Okay. And we'll mix that together. And you just want that sort of, like I said, marbled through or blended through evenly as best you can. You could use a spoon. I just like using my hands. 1 egg in there. Okay. Mix that around. And then we're going to add our seasonings. So we have our salt and pepper. I think there's a 1/2 teaspoon each. Our Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon. Our granulated garlic, 1/2 teaspoon. And then also we like to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese, so 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. All right, and then we're just going to evenly mix this through. All right, so once you get it mixed through nice and evenly, then you're ready to shape your meatballs, okay? If you get the right texture, it should be a little bit wet, but still able to form and hold a solid meatball. If it doesn't, what you can do is add a little bit more breadcrumbs to that to sort of solidify it. So we have our sheet tray, and so we're just going to do our meatballs. So I'm going to eyeball it. You could do about these are about 2-ounce meatballs. Okay, we're going to roll them, we're going to line them on the sheet tray, and then we're going to roast them off. Alright, so what we have is we have our meatballs finished, right? So we roasted them. Any drippings you get from there you can put into your pot along with about 1/4 cup of olive oil. So now we're going to make our sauce. So I'm going to add my onion, just quartered. If you like a little more onion, you could add more than that. And I also have 4 to 5 cloves crushed garlic. All right. So you're just going to let them fry a little bit, and you're also going to put your paste in. And we have a small can of paste. Alright, so we're going to use almost all of that. This gets a little wild. You want to keep an eye on that. Be careful because you're getting a lot of oil sort of splashing. This process is called frying our paste. So we're actually getting that strong, thick tomato paste fried. We're heating it up really, really hot. And it sort of transforms that paste from just a real bitter tomato, strong tomato flavor that sort of mellows it out, and essentially it cooks it, it fries it. So adds a new dimension to it, or transforms it into something different. So right now, that's what we're doing. We're kind of, and you'll notice that that paste sort of picks up that oil. So we had about a 1/4 cup of olive oil in there, and you don't see much of it. I mean, it's starting to really pick that up. So it's soaking that olive oil up, and then that hot olive oil is working its way through the paste, frying it. Also, sort of getting it a little brown on our onion and our garlic to give it a start to cook it. This sauce is going to cook for a couple hours, so we're not trying to cook everything all at once right now. We're trying to just sort of build it. The beginning stage being the paste. The paste is going to act as like a thickener to our sauce. So as it cooks out, almost like a roux, it will really add body and structure to the sauce. Okay, so you want to kind of do this. A nice medium low is good, because if you go too high, you end up burning that paste, and then you get more of a bitter flavor where you burn your onions and garlic. So you sort of want to be a little more gentle with this. If it gets really hot, or when you start at it, just take your pot off of the stove and let it calm down a little bit, cool off a little, and then start back at it again. Okay, so you notice that's really essentially picked up all of that oil that we once had in there. Okay, very good. So I'm pretty happy with where that looks now. The garlic is cooking. So we have 3 different cans. We have tomato sauce, we have tomato puree, and we have crushed tomatoes. Okay, so we're going to add essentially a can of each. All right, and once we do that, we're also going to rinse these cans out with a little bit of water. So about a cup of water total. We'll rinse those cans out, and it'll help thin that sauce, because right now it's going to be really thick, so that water is going to be needed. And you could always add a little more later, but like I said, about a cup. Okay, so we're just adding all those to it. And these are all, I mean, these sauces and whatnot are sort of made, they don't have a lot of flavor. There's no salt added, there's no seasonings added. So it's just going to be that tomato base to our sauce, and then we're going to need to kind of let it cook to sort of marry those flavors together. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of water. Okay. So about a cup of water, and then what I'm doing is I'm just sort of rinsing out my cans a little bit, so that you know, you get every little last tomato flavor. So it's sort of the waste not, want not type theory there. All right. Good. All right, so we're going to stir it a little to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. We can turn it up a little bit now, because we got some moisture in the pan. All right. We're going to want to bring that up to a simmer. While it starts to come up to a simmer, we're going to add our seasonings. We have a teaspoon of oregano. We have a teaspoon each salt and pepper. Okay, and I'll give that a little stir. Okay. And we have a bunch of basil, so probably 5 to 6 basil leaves. We're just going to kind of tear them up and throw them in here. Break them up a little bit, it releases some of that flavor, and it's just going to cook down, and they're just going to become part of the sauce pretty much. All right, might as well just put it all in there. I bought one of those small 4-ounce containers, so we're just going to put them all in there. Stir it around. Okay. And then all we're going to do is we're going to add our meatballs to the sauce. Boom. All right. We're going to add all these to it. We're going to bring it to a simmer, and then we're just going to let this sauce cook for simmer on low for about 1.5 to 2 hours. You can taste it and try to sort of see where that sauce is. If you like the flavor of it and you're happy, then you're good. If you want it, you can always adjust the seasonings as needed. Okay, and what you want to do too is put a lid slightly off center, so because it's going to splash, but yet you don't want to seal it like that, or else it'll end up starting to burn. You want to let some of that air get out of there as well. Stirring it every couple minutes so it doesn't burn on the bottom. So keep checking that. 1.5 hours, sauce is made.